Data centers have brought feelings of anger, confusion, and worry with concern about what the future will look like. But they've also brought an influx of people, jobs, and are changing our community's economic landscape. Life has changed since data centers, especially in the past couple of years, especially since they've actually started to be built. Specifically in New Carlisle, you have the Amazon plant and you have the GM battery plant. With that, has become just an influx of change for the area, even coming as far out as South Bend. What changes have you seen economically? We can start there.
Oh, certainly. I think the big indicator of the change on a local level is really the amount of people staying in hotel rooms and just the amount of new people into the areas.
And I think there's something to be said for just growth in general. There's something to be said for the excitement of getting attention and bringing that kind of business activity to the area, all the way from the restaurants to the stores to the actual employment. It's hard to measure, but there's something to be said for wanting to be a part of an area that's growing.
Many restaurants seeing their parking lots filled just like this one. What would be a normal lunch rush is nearly doubled.
I think what we're going to see in retail and restaurants in particular is stability. So, I mean, we may see new restaurants come to the market, we may see new shops come to the market, but I think the ability to have a bigger base of people, maybe that don't have a tie to the area, but need places to eat, need places to shop, will keep those kind of businesses in business for a lot longer. It'll just provide extra market for those places.
And that's not the only change being seen.
So whether it's new residents that are working at these facilities full-time, or the construction workers, or all those kind of things, but we're really seeing all sorts of numbers tick up. And you know, if you stay in a hotel, then you need a place to eat, and if you need a place to eat, then you need a place to shop, and so we're starting to see a lot of those kind of numbers really dramatically jumping up. And I think the hotel motel group has really done a good job of tracking those numbers over the last year. And I think over the next several years, once Microsoft starts construction later this year, and the GM and AWS project continue, I think those numbers are just going to go crazy.
The 2025 year-end report for St. Joseph County attributes more than 141,000 nights spent in a hotel room to the Amazon data center and the General Motors battery plant alone in the past year. That's an increase of nearly 90,000 nights from what was a record-breaking year in 2023. When did you start to see a rise in these numbers?
Yeah, so it really was end of 24 into 25 when we started to see that uptick. And some construction had started to happen on the GM site, some construction had started to happen on the Amazon site, but really we noticed that the number was dramatically different than 25 as we started tracking month over month. And again, just anecdotally, you go to a restaurant in New Carlisle, it's usually full. You go to a restaurant on the west side of South Bend, it's usually full. You go at night and you just see cars in parking lots at the hotels that maybe you haven't seen. So, and you just, and even just driving around town, you see construction trucks from some of these companies that are doing these projects. So you notice that there's activity because of that.
Homes and hotels aren't the only ones that have seen an increase. Short-term rentals like Airbnbs and VRBOs have seen nearly a 20% increase in their bookings.
What we've experienced is that with these large industrial projects, there is a lot of construction workforce. Some of it is local, some of it travels to the area for the project. So we have seen a temporary demand for temporary housing, which makes sense. Now we've had these projects kind of go back to back to back, so some of that demand has been somewhat stable throughout the projects. We're seeing it today, and we expect to see it with future developments as well. However, we are also seeing some of the migration to the area of the permanent staff. Those are going to be the folks who are going to be running these facilities. Some of them have national credentials and they've moved from other parts of the country now to be here permanent.
As more people move here for permanent and temporary jobs, what happens to the brand new homes, businesses, restaurants, and gas stations when demand lightens and construction comes to an end?
Data centers are very new to Indiana, so we don't have a lot of history onto which study the impact of those developments to home prices. However, there's a part of the country that has had data centers for a much longer period of time, and that would be the Northern Virginia area. And there are some studies that have been done on that area and the impact of home prices. And the results, from what I can tell, is mixed. If homes in the immediate proximity, say within a mile or two of a data center, may be negatively impacted, but apparently many other homes further away are positively impacted. So it's hard to say if those results would translate to our area, but there is reason to be thoughtful that maybe it's not all bad news.
So we're bringing in lots of different streams of revenue into our community that we haven't seen. Now, the question is, data centers are obviously the hot piece now, and nationally, internationally, I mean, they're investing billions of dollars into the market, but what's next?
Nationally, but also in our area, we have been under building new homes for many years. Going back to the 2008 crash, we have just never picked up the same construction levels. So we're just not building as many new homes as we need at every price point. So while there might be a bit of a surge right now in that demand, we're still behind where we think it's a healthy level of new construction.
Homes at all price points are planned along with additional developments. But as for the rest of the new builds and businesses,
data centers aren't our future. They're kind of the right now, so to speak. But, what kind of spin-off businesses happen because of those? Or is there a whole nother sector? I mean, if you would have asked us 5 years ago and we would have said that we were doing all these data center projects, we would have said, really? That's nice. But I think what we're trying to figure out is what that next trend is. And so where can we position ourselves with this new technology, with these new jobs, with this new workforce, as we start looking into the future 5, 10, 20 years out?
From record-breaking hotel stays to the rising housing demand, the economic ripple effect has already been felt in St. Joseph County. Now leaders are looking towards what's next. But what remains to be seen is whether this surge is just for the moment or if it's the foundation for the community's long-term future.
Indiana is becoming a hotspot for massive data centers. And behind the promises of jobs and billions of dollars in investment, there's growing concern about higher utility costs. The big question for many homeowners, will you end up paying for it? Tonight, 22 investigates data center costs in your bill. More data centers, more power demand, and for many Hoosiers already struggling with their utility bills, more concern that growth could drive monthly costs even higher. The Citizens Action Coalition says there's a reason you should be paying attention.
There's been a lot of concern, and you all have been very vocal about your concerns about impacts to bills and rising costs associated with data centers.
That's right. Indiana is being inundated with AI data center proposals. We're tracking more than 50 of them across the state so far. And indeed, some of them are already under construction, as folks in Fort Wayne and New Carlisle are well aware. So we're concerned that these AI data centers are going to be using tremendous and unprecedented amounts of electricity, really the amount equivalent to a significant city in terms of how much they could use. So with that increased demand for electricity come very large costs, because the utility is going to need to both connect into the grid, make transmission upgrades, and then also invest in additional generating resources, i.e. new power plants, in order to serve these facilities. And with the strong demand for AI data centers across the country, we're seeing prices rise for things like power generation equipment, as well as other impacts that could negatively impact consumers.
The consumer watchdog group created this map showing rumored, proposed, and data centers under construction across Indiana. We learned the scale of what's being planned here is unlike anything the state has seen before.
The data center concern is real. We're seeing already power prices in the PJM market, which is the wholesale power market that I&M is part of. We're seeing those capacity prices go through the roof over the past 3 years. And the independent market monitor that oversees that market and makes sure it is competitive and run efficiently has issued reports the past several years saying that data centers specifically are the reason to blame for these sky-high wholesale power market costs. Those costs often trickle down into consumer bills, and at the very least what they're doing is pushing the cost of building new power plants much higher, so that anytime I&M needs to build a new power plant, now just the cost on the market to build or buy that kind of power plant has gotten much more expensive. And so those costs are going to end up in consumer bills as well.
22 Investigates asked NIPSCO directly if you'll end up paying for Indiana's data center boom. In a statement, NIPSCO told me that it cannot speak for other Indiana utilities, but we can say definitively that data center development has not raised NIPSCO's residential rates. The rates NIPSCO customers are paying are for the cost recovery of investments to serve them safely and reliably, and not to fund future data center growth. The utility also announced an agreement with Amazon, where the company will pay for its energy needs, including new power plants, lines, and other equipment for its data center projects. NIPSCO anticipates nearly $1 billion in cost savings for ratepayers over 15 years. So, why are bills so high right now? NIPSCO CEO says the bill burden many of us saw this winter has nothing to do with data centers.
Yeah, the winter months, our bill is really tied to usage. So we go through a regulated process. We don't change our rates until we go through what is really a long process. Multiple parties get involved to ultimately, engage and look at what those costs are. Ultimately, then there's an order that'll come out that sets those rates. But our rates are volumetric, meaning a lot of the bill the customer pays each month is really driven by how much usage they have. In the winter months, in this December, January, February, we have seen significantly colder than normal temperatures. So our customer system and our system are working really, really hard to keep that comfort level inside of the home for customers. And when that usage goes up, the bill goes up because it is a volumetric rate. When you use a lot more in the winter, the bill is going to be higher as well. And so then a significant amount of that bill, it will come through in those winter months. So they'll see a higher usage in a month like December, 160 therms on average, where in a month like August, it could be 14 therms. So you can see how that both will have an impact on the gas, the commodity side of it, so their energy cost as well as our delivery rate.
Inskeep told me rising bills started long before many of these projects were ever proposed. Last year, Indiana ranked #1 in the nation for the biggest increase in electric utility bills.
I would say the majority of our bill increases to date have been for other reasons, unrelated to specific data center investments by our utilities. But going forward, it's a major concern that the additional costs that data centers bring could create additional burdens on our bills. Our bills have gone up for a variety of different factors, but a lot of them point back to laws passed by our General Assembly over the past 15 years that have taken away the ability of our utility regulators to hold the utilities accountable and ensure they're not overcharging customers. And instead, the legislation that has passed has made it easier for utilities to pad their profits and raise our bills. And so there's a big imbalance right now when it comes to the laws we've set up in our state that are very utility friendly and are not very friendly towards consumers, i.e. ratepayers who pay electric utility bills every month.
And Ben, you say there's a state policy that gives you the impression that Indiana is more utility friendly instead of pro-consumer.
Well, Indiana has seen their bills become less affordable over time. And last year we were #1 in terms of the biggest increase in our electric utility bills on average across the state of Indiana. So I think Hoosiers across the state of Indiana are experiencing a significant and sudden increase in their electric utility bills. This has been particularly pronounced in the northwest part of our state and the southwest part of our state, customers of NIPSCO and Centerpoint. But really it's impacted Hoosiers in every jurisdiction of the state who are now paying higher rates on their electric utility bills. These data centers are not paying sales tax on their equipment or their electric utility bills, even though you and I do. So there's a lot of unfair policies that have been put in place to roll out the red carpet for these big tech facilities. But not a lot of attention, or at least not adequate attention, has been given to the residential affordability concerns. And I think that's something that folks need to continue to let their lawmakers, let their elected officials know about, and let them know that it's important to them and their families.
And the amount of electricity they could use is unprecedented. The CAC cited an I&M forecast showing a handful of AI data centers coming to northern Indiana could use more electricity by 2030 than all 6.8 million Hoosiers use in their homes today.
I would say the impacts of these facilities is really astronomical, and unlike other types of development we've seen in the past, and that's why there's such a large concern from so many communities. Just the energy impact in particular These facilities are going to use more electricity than any other type of facility in the state of Indiana that we've ever seen before. So a data center can use more power than a steel mill or aluminum smelter, for example. So that kind of gives you a sense. These things are going to have a significant impact. And even if there's short-term benefits, over the long term, there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of risk to Hoosier communities from them.
So, what happens next? Consumer advocates and multiple studies say the answer may show up somewhere familiar: your monthly bill. NIPSCO told me because it's a regulated utility, that means it doesn't raise rates on their own. Every rate must go through a formal comprehensive review and approval process through the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission. That process can take months and requires detailed evidence before anything can change.